Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, depending on your time zone and depending on when you are watching this. It's Wednesday, the 20th of May, 2020. We're pretty much halfway through most people's working week. The weekend is in sight. I'm James Innes, and this is my daily YouTube show, The Jobs Guru. Please do think about subscribing. In today's show, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest jobs, career and employment news, which, to say the least, is not good, I'm afraid. I will, as always, be covering a question from one of my viewers. I'll be talking about mental health in the workplace, what with this being Mental Health Awareness Week 2020. I'll be tackling how the hundreds of thousands of people who have lost their jobs due to the coronavirus crisis should reflect this in their CV. And next in the interview question series, we'll be looking at how you handle being criticised. If you have any questions or comments as you watch them, do please let me have them below. And if you like what you see, then please do hit that YouTube thumbs up. First, as usual, I've had a good read of all the main news headlines, and in particular the workplace, jobs, careers, and employment-related headlines. And unemployment levels continue to make headline news. As I reported yesterday, official figures showed 856,500 people signed up for Universal Credit and Job Seekers Allowance benefits in April, which drove up the overall claimant count by 69% in one single month. Now, you can't have missed all this in the past 24 hours, so I'm going to keep this segment of the show very brief today and just quote from one article. The Guardian, headline, Chancellor plays down hopes of quick economic recovery. The Chancellor has warned that Britain is facing a severe recession, the likes of which we haven't seen, and lasting economic damage from the coronavirus pandemic, in a downbeat assessment of the country's economic prospects after a sharp rise in unemployment benefit claims. The Chancellor warned it was not obvious that there will be an immediate bounce back from recession. He went on, I certainly won't be able to protect every job and every business. We're already seeing that in the data, and no doubt there will be more hardship to come. The government had been hoping for a so-called V-shaped recovery from the pandemic, but the Chancellor said the jury is out on the degree of a long-term scarring on the UK economy. In a nutshell, it's not looking good. So let's not dwell on it any further today. Let's move on to that question from one of my viewers. Today's question is from Siobhan in Edinburgh. That's the second one this week, I think, from Edinburgh. Yeah, the capital of Scotland. So, Siobhan, I am an office worker, she says, who is currently working from home due to the coronavirus crisis. However, I struggle to maintain my focus and I keep procrastinating. I live alone and I feel quite low about not having my usual routine or seeing colleagues and having conversations with them today, every day, as well as being frightened about the current situation. Do you have tips for things I can do to help myself feel better and to get my focus back? What is to do? So, Siobhan, this sounds like it's your first time ever working from home. I know it's not easy when you first start out with this, but now that I've been working from home mainly from home for a number of years, because it's so much easier to balance with my parenting duties, I'm sure I've got some advice for you. My first thought is that sticking to a normal work routine is a great place to start. Don't be tempted to work in your pajamas, although I personally do this loads. But not today, obviously, but do feel free to take advantage of not being in an office. Keep it more casual. If you take regular coffee breaks at the office, and take regular breaks at home, or whatever breaks they are. Proper breaks are very important. Don't remain glued to your work. Do have a proper lunch break, ideally one that involves getting some fresh air out in the lovely sunshine today. Obviously, just be careful to keep your distance from other people right now. And I'd say it'd be really good to explore the various different ways you can communicate with your colleagues in your now, you've still got an office, it's just a virtual office. There's Google Chat, there's Discord, Facebook Messenger. These platforms are great for both messaging and talking, and with video call as well, assuming you're not still in your pajamas. Screen sharing options, etc. Obviously, but don't, waste your whole time gossiping on Messenger. But it's good to keep in touch, keep those lines of communication open. Really, Siobhan, there's no reason why working from home can't really work for you. It just needs a little bit of discipline, a little bit of creativity, and some practice. You could find you never look back. Now, I'm always open to new and interesting questions from my viewers, so if you've got a workplace, jobs, careers, employment, related questions for me, then do please type it into that comment section below, and I may well feature it in a future episode of the show. And, as regular viewers will know, if I do, then there will be a Jobs Guru coffee mug hurtling off to you in the post. The first batch should theoretically arrive later today, although between you and me, I am not holding my breath. Deliveries are still on the slow side at the moment, aren't they? But we'll see. Maybe I'll have one for tomorrow. Now, Each day, as well as answering one specific viewer's question, like Siobhan's here, I also look into a specific issue which has been raised by a number of different viewers. And today, I want to touch on something I spoke about briefly last week, beginning of last week. It's currently the middle of Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK. Mental Health Awareness Week 2020. And so today I want to shine my spotlight again on mental health. I personally suffer from depression. Indeed, I've delivered a couple of major Zoom talks on this important topic in the past few weeks. So mental health is an issue close to my heart. Typically, 1 in 4 people in the UK will have a mental health issue at some point in their lives. That's a quarter. Now, mental health problems are common, yes, but fortunately, they're often only transitory. Unsurprisingly, in recent times, we've seen a huge increase in mental health issues. Mental health is about how we think, feel, and behave. Anxiety and depression are the most common, and whilst they can occur spontaneously, certainly, they're most often the result of some sort of traumatic life event, a death in the family, or indeed lockdown. Now, Mental Health Awareness Week 2020 is a chance for the UK to focus on mental health, and this year's theme is kindness, a direct response to the coronavirus crisis, which is evidently having a big impact on people's health at the moment. Now, what I would like to do is to read a little quote here from Mark Roden, Chief Executive of the Mental Health Foundation. We want to use Mental Health Awareness Week to celebrate the thousands of acts of kindness that are so important to our mental health. And we want to start a discussion on the kind of society we want to shape as we emerge from this pandemic. Okay, so have you carried out any acts of kindness recently? Do let me know in the comments section below. I'd really love to hear from you. Now, on to the main topic I wish to discuss with you today. Broadly, people who have lost their job due to COVID-19 and how to reflect this in their CV. I think it's pretty safe to assume that the impact of COVID-19 on levels of unemployment around the world is going to be felt for many years to come. Every day, my team at the James Innes Group and the CV Centre is inundated with questions from clients about how their CV or resume should reflect the fact that they've either been furloughed or, even worse, lost their jobs completely as a result of the pandemic. Loss of jobs is now worse than during the global financial crisis of 2007, with the definite potential to be even worse than the 1929 so-called Great Depression. The Office for Budget Responsibility in the UK anticipates that unemployment will remain high until 2023, despite the Office for National Statistics reporting that UK employment was at its lowest since 1975, just 6 months ago in December 2019. Basically, if you've been furloughed or lost your job as a result of COVID-19, you are not alone. Millions of people around the world are in the same or very similar situation. And as I mentioned in yesterday's show, the recruitment industry itself has actually been one of the hardest hit, even though that may not make headline news. So discussing this in your CV or resume, LinkedIn profile, discussing it during an interview does not need to be a major cause for concern. Any recruiter worth their salt will fully understand the situation. That said, knowing that there are going to be a lot of other people in a similar position to you shouldn't make you complacent. Referring back to yesterday's show again, where my spotlight was on volunteering, the way in which you have used the time since you were furloughed or made redundant can help you to stand out from the crowd when you apply for roles moving forward. Seeing things from the perspective of the recruiter, who are they most likely to remember? The candidate who signed up with schemes like furlough.com or furlough.life and shared their skills with others for free during this time, or the ones who worked on their suntan and binge-watched the entire Netflix back catalogue. I spoke with a lady just yesterday who normally works on a contract basis, finished her last contract in March. It was scheduled to finish in March. And she was wondering if she should mention on her CV that since then she's been unable to find a suitable new contract, so she's been working hard as an NHS volunteer. Well, of course, absolutely. Brilliant. Absolutely. Bring that into the CV. For those of you who haven't heard them, schemes like Furlontier and Furlough.life, they aim to connect charitable causes with people willing and able to volunteer their time to help out during these unprecedented times. People who volunteer in this way, they're not only opening themselves up to new experiences, skills, opportunities that can be included in their CV or resume, they're also taking active steps to help others while simultaneously improving their own well-being. I really want to make it quite clear, though, that you shouldn't feel guilty if you haven't been able to volunteer or learn a new skill or whatever whilst you've been out of work. And I do feel it's particularly important in Mental Health Awareness Week to make it clear that there is absolutely no shame in experiencing feelings of severe stress, anxiety or depression as a result of being furloughed or losing your job. It's normal. There's an excellent article in The Guardian the other day by my friend Larry Elliott, the economics editor. The headline was, I've got it here, let's see, "Unemployment due to COVID-19 is surely worth more than a footnote," he headlined with. And he said quite rightly, "Unemployment and the risk of being made unemployed makes people feel miserable. And the mental and physical stresses caused by fear of layoff have left many workers feeling suicidal." To sum it up, however you spend or spent your time during lockdown, there's no reason at all for you to hide it. You may want to dedicate valuable CV real estate, yes, to any volunteering you did, absolutely. But if you didn't, just a brief line indicating you were furloughed or made redundant and therefore took a small career break will be perfectly acceptable. There are going to be a lot of people with gaps in their CV, in their career in 2020. It's normal. Naturally, as always, I really would welcome any thoughts, questions, ideas, comments that you've got on this section, section of the show, this segment of the show, in the comments section down below. So, as you may or may not know, I've written a fair few books on careers in particular. I'm the UK's best-selling careers author. Amongst those books is the Interview Question and Answer book. And in each episode of my YouTube show, I take questions from that book and I look at how to answer them. All this week, it's from the chapter entitled The Top 25 Tough Questions Taking the Heat. So here's today's: how do you handle being criticised? Now, similar questions include: how do you take criticism? When were you last criticised? How did you react when you were last criticised? Can you tell me about an occasion when you were criticised or your work was criticised? Have you had an idea that was criticised by someone else? So back to the question in hand. How do you handle being criticised? Hearing you describe how you handle criticism will tell the interviewer a lot about you as a person and about what sort of a person you are to work with. Everybody needs to be prepared to accept criticism, constructive criticism, where it is due. The interviewer won't want to hire someone who reacts badly to criticism, someone who isn't prepared to listen to criticism, or someone who takes it as a personal attack. I think we all know people like that. If you've got a problem with criticism, then you're going to be difficult to manage and you're not going to get the job. So, how to answer this tough question? Well, it can be a good idea, even if you haven't specifically been asked to do so in the question, to cite an example of a situation where you were criticised. Choose your example very carefully, of course. Don't pick a major blunder, and make sure you phrase it in such a way as to demonstrate that you really did learn from the experience. Yet again, you need to take what could be, as it's a common theme with many tough questions, what could be a potentially negative topic and turn it round so that it actually becomes a positive selling point for you. Don't fall into the trap of exposing a weakness. As always, make sure you somehow come up smelling of roses. For those of you who do have a problem with criticism, it doesn't really matter how you handle criticism. It's how you lead the interviewer to believe that you handle criticism, which really counts. Now, as usual, I have picked an example straight from my book to read to you. I wrote this a number of years ago. I haven't read it since, so let's hope it's a good one. If criticism is due, I genuinely welcome it. I am very critical of my own work, and I always appreciate constructive criticism and feedback from others, especially those who may have a different angle on matters or possibly more experience than I do. I was recently asked to work on a tender document for a new contract, so again, bringing a nice example here. And since this is not normally a part of my job, my experience in this respect is naturally limited. Okay, you're justifying, you're saying, yeah, okay, you may be struggling, but it's understandable. I consequently actually invited criticism from both my line manager and from a more experienced colleague. Whilst they were, fortunately largely impressed with my work, they certainly gave me some constructive criticism on a number of different areas, helping me to perfect the document. We won the contract, and I've definitely learned a lot from the experience, which will be useful to me in the future. Fairly neatly done there, I think you will agree. So, the Interview Question and Answer book, I'm currently working on a new edition of this book. So, if you've got any ideas for questions I could potentially include, if you've already read the book and you've got any constructive criticism for me, then let me have it in the comments section below, or on this show in general. That is pretty much all for today, I have to say. It's two more things as usual at the end of my show. First, the usual but important YouTube requests. If you've got any questions or comments about this episode, the show in general, life, the universe, the trending skinhead lockdown haircut, whatever, do please let me have them. If you like this episode, then hit it with the YouTube thumbs up. I'm getting better at that cheesy grin, aren't I? And do think about subscribing to my channel if you don't. If you have already, then ring that bell so that you can receive automatic notifications from YouTube whenever I upload new episodes. Finally, let me tell you what is happening tomorrow. In tomorrow's show, I'll be chatting about a variety of things, including the importance of making your CV achievements-based, if at all possible. And next in the Interview Question series, we'll be finding out what really makes you lose your rag. I do hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching today. Keep safe and be well, my friends. Goodbye.